By talent, this kid should have been long gone. Someone should have grabbed him and we do it. What exactly is it? Remains to be seen, remains to be found out by us on the outside. I don't know what the Sanders family knows or is hearing. I don't know what people are telling them or not telling them. I just know that if I'm that young man right now, Joel, it's almost impossible to feel that it's not personal.
Quit calling the plays, all right?
You got to listen and you got to execute.
I already feel good about me. I'm good.
Just call it.
What's going on? This is Coach Marcus Pro Fan Talk. We are in day 3 of the NFL Draft. Still no sign of Shedeur Sanders getting drafted. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of questions, a lot of conversation. And the one thing that I've seen, which is very interesting from my perspective as somebody that's went through the process, although my process was a hell of a lot different. What happened in 1993 is vastly different than what's going on now with social media, the cameras, the whole production is just elevated to a point that's almost ridiculous. But at the end of the day, teams are still trying to get the best talent available. Now, we could argue how talented Shedeur Sanders is, and you could argue some of the guys that were picked ahead of him were not as talented as Shedeur Sanders. You can have that argument because that's all based on opinions. And you know the rule. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one. When you evaluate talent, what are you looking for? And what don't you see? Because when you listen to some of the media heads on television, NFL Network, Fox News, ESPN, all of that type of stuff, everybody can nitpick little things, what he doesn't do well, his arm's not strong enough, he throws a lot of screens, stuff like that. And listen, that's valid criticism, but you could pull the same criticisms for all of these other quarterbacks. So regardless of who you are talking about, there's always going to be something that's not quite right or doesn't live up to the expectation. There's always something you can nitpick. There's always something that they don't do right. Nobody comes in at 100%. Everybody's got to work on stuff. Shedeur is no different. Cam Ward is no different. All those other quarterbacks that got drafted are no different. Everybody's got stuff to work on. But to put this kid in a situation where he doesn't even get an opportunity, that's something that's the bad look. And when you look at all of these experts trying to figure out why or why not, to me, that's where the real conversation is, because it looks like everybody's having a conversation and they're trying to figure out what to say because they don't know what to say because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You can go back and you can look at history. There have been plenty of players that go through the process, past and present, even with the way they present it now with the fake interviews and, you know, right on the combine floor, you got to talk to somebody on NFL Network. All of that stuff. When I was in the combine, there was nobody there. There was no media. Only the top projected draft picks would actually talk to teams. So this whole interview process is something rarely new, and I didn't have to go through, but everybody does it, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, everybody's looking at talent, and you can't tell me that the kid is not talented. So, like Charles Davis said, you can't help but think it's personal. And there have been plenty of times in the past there's been plenty of players that didn't have the greatest interviews, if you believe an anonymous report. There's been plenty of players that didn't have the great combine process, interviews, pro day, whatever measurement you want to use. There have been plenty of players in the past that didn't knock it out of the park, still got drafted and still had their opportunity. And to me, that's the key. Still had their opportunity. Because what you're going to do is you're going to put this kid in a situation where he's going to get picked up. Maybe he'll go today or tomorrow or something. Maybe an undrafted free agent. Then the chances go, because he's going to be stuck behind. He's going to get limited reps. And the swell of information and the swell of media attention is going to be through the roof. And that's going to be the excuse why people don't want to bring him in. They don't want the distraction. They don't want this or want that. When there's been plenty of other times they brought it in, they've welcomed it, all of that type of stuff. At the end of the day, teams are going to do what they want to do. At the end of the day, it's the owners who spend the money, and ultimately is their decision. Now, could I see owners feeling some kind of way because they just don't like Shedeur's attitude and his aura and the way he handles himself? I could absolutely see that. And I could put some phrases in there that'll invoke some isms that might be fair or unfair. But the question can be asked. If you have true talent evaluators, the guys on TV don't evaluate our team for them. Well, if you go back and look in the past, there's been plenty of times where they've evaluated the people that you like and they came out with the same opinion as you. So when they did that, they must have been correct, right? So it only comes into play when they agree with you. So I guess my thing is they're denying this kid an opportunity, wrongfully so. It's a black eye on the league, but at the end of the day, quite honestly and unpleasantly, this is really checkmate, because very difficult to go up against the league in a situation like this. Deion Sanders' arms are tied. What is he going to do? What can he do? Nothing. The owners control the money. If they want to pick him, they would have picked him, period. It's a crazy situation. Going to keep watching it. I really, really hope the kid gets his opportunity. And if he does get in somebody's camp, and I believe that he will, I just hope they give him an opportunity, because now when you're talking about drafting quarterbacks or drafting any players at this level, the amount of time, the amount of opportunity you are actually going to get on the field is always going to be questionable, because you're not going to get a quarter and a half to play. You might get a series. Back when I played, the rooks really didn't play much. The last preseason game is what it was, basically a rookie showcase. All the veterans sat on the sideline because you didn't want to get anybody hurt before the season started, and you let all the rooks play. For me, it was the third preseason game of the year, the second or the third. We played Atlanta, 12 carries, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. I made the Eagles on that game. The last preseason game, I really didn't do much, but the Atlanta game is what put me on the map and pretty much secured my roster spot. But at least I had the opportunity. Quarterback's a little bit different. So I am hoping that Shedeur Sanders will at least get an opportunity to shine.